And you're very welcome to Treaty Talk, a special edition Treaty Talk here ahead of the Bonscore Hospital Limerick Senior Hurling Championship Final. And I'm delighted to say we have a special guest on with us, and that is, of course, Aaron Gillane, captain of Patrickswell. And before I speak to Aaron, a reminder that all GA on Sporting Limerick is in association with Noel's Menswear. Very good morning to Aaron. How are things?
Morning, Tom. All good now. How are you getting on?
Not too bad, not too bad. You're telling me you're actually sitting in a building there in Patrickswell. So are the bunting up yet? Is the flags up? It's county final. You're used to them out there, but what's the initial mood around the village?
That is a great buzz, to be honest. In terms of your question, yeah, they've bunting up and the flags up, and they're gone all out, to be fair to them. So no, it was great excitement. And I suppose, look, anywhere you go or whoever you meet, that's all they want to talk about. So we look forward to.
Yeah, Patrickswell won their first county title in 1965, and this is a 30th final appearance. You're well used to contesting that Daily Cup, so there's obviously a great history passed on. You know, you're born in the mid-90s. You wouldn't have been around for a lot of those 30 finals, but there has been a lot since as well. You've been involved in a few yourself. But what sort of stories were always passed down to you about, you know, county finals and the history of Patrickswell GA?
Sure, that's the thing. There is such a rich history in Patrickswell. I suppose we're blessed to be born into a club like this and a village like this. So I'm not sure you hear stories of old, the likes of the Binnesses, the Foleys, and then I suppose we would be more used to, I suppose, the likes of Kieran Carey and Gary Kirby. And look, they've won a lot with the club, and all they're trying to do is, you know, emulate that a small bit. But look, we've got over the line twice ourselves as a group, and look, we've a great opportunity, you know, next Saturday to add a third one. So that's all that's in front of our mind now at the minute.
You mentioned the family names there. The Kirbys is one, obviously, with John and Patrick involved. There's obviously the three O'Briens, you have the two Lynches involved, yourself and Jason. Also, I think your cousin Jordan there as well. So the family thing, obviously, every club has this where brothers play and cousins play like that, but it's always been a Patrickswell, and I suppose that kind of creates a unity as well. Obviously, there's other new family names in the area too, but nevertheless, it's the family names that ring through time and again for Patrickswell.
Yeah, and look, I suppose that makes it all the more special. You mentioned there, I think there's three O'Briens playing, two Lynches, myself and Jason and Jordan there. Even have my father there as a selector this year. For everyone involved, it really is a family affair, and as I said, it makes it all the more special. Like, it's so enjoyable, like being able to go up training there 2 or 3 nights a week. I suppose just very close friends and then with family as well. So all we want to do is try and achieve something together and try and win something together. And you know, those are memories that last a lifetime then.
You're obviously made captain this year as well, and it's something that Keane and Dermot have had in recent years. And I think Barry Foley was a captain in a final going back as well a couple of years, and different guys have held that mantle. What does that role entail? I know it'll obviously mean a lot to you to captain your club, but what do you take on an extra, you know, responsibility with that this year?
I suppose first and foremost, like, it's for myself personally, it's a huge honour and it's a privilege. So when Eamon came to me during the year to be the captain, I grabbed it with both hands. So I was delighted with that. But in terms of what it entails, I don't think there's anything, I suppose, weighing too heavily on it. I suppose we're coming back there from a great year at Limerick, and all we're trying to do is just add to the group positively. I think the lads that have been training all year with Patrickswell since the start of January, they're the real lads that are driving it. So, and I was saying it last night when we came back after All-Ireland this year, just to see the condition that the lads are in and the standard of hurling that they were playing. So that was just testament to them and all the hard work, and they've been driving it all year. So it just made the transition, I suppose, seamless for the three of us to slot back in. And like, all we're trying to do is add to positively, and if we can do that, you know, we're delighted. But no, there isn't just 3 or 4 leaders in the group. You know, there's 14, 15, and there's 7 or 8 lads there that could very easily start any given day or any other club team. So of course they're driving standards and training as well, because they want to, I suppose, show their best hand and try and get into the starting 15 for next Saturday as well.
Yeah, you mentioned, I suppose, well, we mentioned obviously the piercing of the opponents, but if you look back at the semi-final, I've been at a lot of your games. I think I've been at nearly all your games, bar maybe the Gillane Palace Henry one. It probably was your best performance of the year. To bring that in a knockout game is pretty special. Like you hit 225 in the second half. I think was it maybe 112 or 113 as a team. I think Kevin O'Brien ruined it for you. You had a perfect streak in the second half, and then he hit a late wide. But you really clicked from 1 to 15, and the 4 or 5 guys that came on. Like it must be a great feeling coming off the field to in a knockout game to have turned in such a good performance.
Yeah, and I suppose like a lot of that comes down to, I suppose, the simplicity of our play that day. There was no great game plans. There was no massive tactics or anything. We literally went out on the field. Everyone had their own jobs to do, and then everyone just had to bring that work rate and that honesty. I know Kate may have had a handy enough wide at the end, but I wouldn't really give too much thought to that, because if you see the work that Kate got throughout the 60 minutes, that was worth 5 or 6 points alone. So I'd way prefer our players to be going through work like that and then creating chances elsewhere, rather than just everyone out in the field as a team of individuals trying to rack up their own scores. That's not how it works, and I suppose that's not our mantra this year.
Yeah, and one thing that's noticeable, I think the headlines, and we're probably guilty of it in the media, of giving the headlines to yourself, Cian and Dermot, but there was a great spread of scores. I think he had 10 different scores. The work rate, I think, was up. Eamon touched on it afterwards himself. The work rate was really through the roof. Like it must be very important for you guys to see that the guys around you are just willing to do whatever it takes. You mentioned Kevin there, probably not having his most vintage year in front of the post. Like, other years he'd be rattling off big scores in games, but maybe this year he's just been a grafter for the team. I think he dovetailed quite well with you. Like, it must be a great feeling when these guys are going to just put everything out there for 60 plus minutes.
It is, and look, I suppose myself, Cian and Dermot, like, we're not exempt from that either. Obviously we have to go out and I suppose exert as much energy as we can and work as hard as we can as well. It's a collective thing. Like, you're not just picking a couple of lads that are going to go out and work hard for 60 minutes. I know the forwards there, you were saying there was a great array of scorers the last day, but I think looking back and watching the match, like, hats off to our backs, they did exactly what was asked of them before the match. I suppose, like, even looking back at the match again, just to touch on John Flynn, I think he's been, in my opinion, our best player this year. I think he's been absolutely unbelievable. Probably going under the radar there a small bit, but it's not going unnoticed by any of our group or any of the management here in Patrickswell. So I think John has probably got the toughest tasks in all the games we've played this year in terms of picking up the other players' main forward, and I think he's done that unbelievable. Even speaking personally, like, we've had a great year with Limerick this year, and we've played some excellent teams and marked excellent defenders. But even up in training, like, I'd put John Flynn nearly up there with the best of them. He's just bringing his game to a new level this year. He's strong, he's fit, his hurling is crisp, he's just fresh. So that's goes testament to John. He's putting a huge effort, and that's shown on the field.
We mentioned the name Eamon Kelly there. Obviously, he's come in this year, a Tipperary native. What is he brought that's been a bit different? Obviously, you had player management the last couple of years. Before that, then you had kind of in-house between Kieran and Gary Kirby. So what's it like to get a fresh approach from a man like Eamon?
It's great, and to be fair to Eamon, he's very approachable. He listens. Whatever he thinks is going to benefit the team, he'll implement that straight away. He obviously has his own ways, and he brought that with him this year. And I suppose the good thing, like, is he's implemented his ways since the start of the year, and he hasn't been chopping or changing or anything. And look, it suited us. We've stuck to, I suppose, one thing all year, and that was Eamon's way of playing. So, no, I look to get a fresh pair of eyes and just, I suppose, to get a new voice in around the place. And to be fair to Eamon, he's had great experience over the last couple of years. So, no, and I suppose, like, he gets on with everyone, and he's a very good man manager. He's a very good way about himself. So it just makes it easier to get on with someone, and then, and I suppose when the vibes are good and when everyone's getting on, it makes it easier just to go out and perform in the field.
If we look back to the very opening round, the early days of August, it was Napier the opponents. Now, you know what you're going to say. It's no relevance to the final, but you managed to pick up a win that day. And does that give you confidence that you've beaten the county champions, albeit in a group game? That give you confidence that what Eamon is relaying to you is the right thing? You dug it out in horrible conditions in Clahan that evening. Did that reaffirm, that this management are bringing us in the right direction?
Of course, yeah. Look, we were obviously delighted to, I suppose, get off to a great start. I know the Pearship were down a couple of bodies that day, as were we ourselves. I think we were missing like Josh Consign and Living Fitz that day. So I suppose both teams weren't at full strength that day, but I suppose the main takeaway from that day was just confidence in what Eamon was saying to us. He was basically telling us, if you go out and work hard, good things will happen. And I think we really broke our backs that day working, and look, we got a great result. So we've just tried to stick to that and implement that in every game so far. And like, what is it, a week to go now? We have 2 or 3 sessions left to go, and like that's all we're going to be focusing on, is working hard and trying to get the best out of ourselves for the next week, and then hopefully transferring that onto the field Saturday evening.
No, you got a great goal that day, and I think we were just joking before we started there. You have 7 goals in the championship, a lot of them nearly of the viral nature, if I can say it like that. The goal that day, it showed it. If we can forget the goal itself, it showed what you're able to do and what what the team can get you to do. Sometimes you pulled out to I suppose right wing forward, basically asked for the puck out after brother and worked it from there. But it's something that you're able to switch up your play a bit. You're not completely isolated inside for the whole game. You're not inside as a 2, but there's a bit of flexibility in your play, and I suppose you're going to need that to defeat a team like the Pearship.
There is enough. I suppose there's nothing kind of set in stone. Obviously, players line out in certain positions throughout a game, but I suppose we kind of have that freedom and flexibility to, I suppose, manoeuvre ourselves around the field. And like the last day, I think there was a great example of that. I think the 6 forwards played in, I'd say they tried all the 6 positions. So, no, and look, that day against the Pearship, I suppose Calvin Carr had a huge part to play in that goal. I give him an awful pass along the ground. So, he did very well to get the first touch up into his hand and then passed it back, and then I had the easy job really. The net was open, all I had to do was kind of hit it into it. So hats off to Calvin that day. He did all the hard work.
Yeah, your own form as well. 7, I'm looking at it here, 7:45 and 6:11 of that from play. Not to mind what happened with Limerick in the earlier in the year, but you seem to have had an extremely positive year on the field of play, and like everything seems to have clicked for you. What did you put that down to? What is, not to say that anything has changed, you had a great year last year too, I must say, but you seem to have gone on to another level for both club and county. So what has gone on? Maybe this has just brought you on another level or two.
I suppose when it just comes down again, I'm not trying to give a short answer until it just comes down to, I suppose, your own willingness to put in hard work and taking confidence that if you have the work put in, you're going to get the results. I suppose in terms of bringing form into the club season, sometimes it can be hard to transition from county to club. But this year, as I said, like at the start, the standards that the lads were at by the time we got back with the club, it was just unreal. And I suppose it's something, it's up a couple of notches from where it has been the last couple of years. So, like I mentioned already, it made the transition seamless for the 3 of us. And like some of the games we played in most of our training sessions, they're up there at kind of an inter-county standard. And I suppose like everyone wants to improve. Obviously, there's lads there in the club seeing that. I suppose they're seeing the success of Limerick over the last few years, and they're saying, all right, I want a bit of that. So obviously they're driving things as well as they can with the club and off the field themselves individually to, I suppose, hopefully maybe get a shout with Limerick or with a county team or something. So look, it definitely benefited the 3 of us going back to Patrickswell when they were playing at such a high standard, and the training was at, I suppose, such an intensity and stuff. So it made it a lot easier for us.
Yeah, so the final opponents obviously are in the Pearship. You played them every year, given that you're in the same group. But in terms of knockout hurling, you've played each other in 2 finals. I think you were a very young man. I think the first time in 2015 when they squeezed you out by a point in what was a great game. You've come on leaps and bounds. I think you were actually taken off that day. Not too often now. We'll see you taken off by Patrickswell before or since, but a learning curve that day. You obviously got the better of them then in, I think it was 2019. So maybe best 2 out of 3 in this final. It's the 3rd final meeting of these kind of groups of teams.
Yeah, look, they're a great team, to be fair to them. I suppose they've been the standard setters for the last couple of years. But just to, I suppose, to reflect on what you said there, 2015, it seems ages ago at this stage now, which it is. We were quite a young team at the time. We're lucky enough I have to do this 1 sec. Sorry, PJ O'Grady sticking his head in.
Right, we'll chop it up. Yeah, so 2015, you're a young team. I'll fix that after that.
Yeah. But yeah, 2015, look, we were a very young team at the time. I suppose I know we didn't get the result we wanted that day, but I suppose the exposure to the big days, it gave us all a feel for that and a taste for that. And luckily enough, we've been able to hold on to a lot of the players that topped out that day in 2015. And that experience definitely stood to us. And so once you get a taste of the big days, you don't want to give it away too easy. And signs on, we came back in 2016 and won it. Then maybe had 2 or 3 quiet years there, but then come up against Napier in 2019 and begin a great battle as it is more often than not when we come up against them. As I was saying, they're a great team, they're stacked with talent, but we're going to take confidence ourselves from the way we're playing lately and how our training is going. So, we're all looking forward to next Saturday.
I just want to finally ask you about two kind of issues, or not issues, but topics, I suppose, that have come up, and one of them very recently, in terms of penalties deciding a game. Now, I personally have no issue with it deciding a game of hurling or any other sport for that matter. It's something that some people, I know Matt O'Callaghan on this channel was dead against it, and we saw outside of the senior grade, we saw very unfortunately relegated in the penalty shootout. Is it something, obviously if you win it doesn't bother you, but is it something that you agree with? It should be a way to decide, especially a big knockout game like a county final or something like that?
I suppose maybe with a county final it'd be nice to, I suppose, see it go to a replay or something. But like in terms of a quarter final or a semi-final, look, I don't know, the rules are there, and I don't know, are people going to listen to the players as much anyway, so I don't know. Are we going to waste our time thinking about it too much? But look, the rules are there. We kind of just have to get on with it. It can be cruel in a way, but it's fairly even. Like, everyone has 5 penalties each, so there's no favourites in a penalty shootout. I don't know. It's a tricky subject. Luckily, we haven't come across that yet. I know you would kind of feel for the Doolins the last day after putting in such a huge shift and a great performance, and then to ultimately come up short, you would kind of feel from a small bit. But look, the rule is there, and there's nothing we can do with it, only get on with it. So, have you practiced them? Obviously, in the now have experience of taking, I think 7 rounds of penalties, and Shane Dowling has faced 7 as well. He'd say 4. So, have you maybe just at the end of training, a bit of messing around, just get your guys into that zone, or is it on the table at all? We actually did a bit just before training, did a night for the left. And a couple of us lined up and we took a few penalties, and we weren't long kind of whittling it down after that. A few lads kind of wrote themselves off after that. Their penalties were so shocking. But no, look, it is kind of something you have to keep in the back of your head. Anything could happen. I think we only got 1 penalty throughout the year, and we didn't score it. So it is something you kind of have to be aware of, and it is something you're going to have to be working on. You want to leave no stone unturned and kind of have everything there as well as you can.
Yeah, and finally, just to touch on the split season, I don't think it's a debate really in my own head, but it's something that, if we look back to, I think 2018-19, you played 2 club games after the National Hurling League, and then you're back into Championship, and then you come back and play another 3. And some clubs, obviously, if they lost the first 2, were under real stress coming into the summer months, in terms of keeping things going. Now clubs have a clean run. I mentioned that your first round was played around the August bank holiday weekend, and you've had a clean run there of 7 championship games in the best part of we're looking at 10-12 weeks, maybe a bit more than that. But so as an intercounty player, do you agree with that scheduling? Obviously, I'm sure you'd love a little more window after winning an All-Ireland, maybe to relax with family and friends. But do you agree with the way the calendars work? Of course, tweaks could make it better, but do you agree overall with the way it's going?
Personally, myself, I absolutely love it. You have a couple of months there throughout the year that's dedicated to Limerick and Limerick alone. Obviously, you're keeping an eye on the club in the background. But then, like, the minute Limerick is finished, like, Patrickswell is getting your undivided attention. And, that's what it deserves. Like, the club deserves everything from you. And instead of getting you in bits and pieces, whereas, like you mentioned there, in 2018, 2019, you probably trained at Limerick in the pre-season and maybe played 2 club games with Patrickswell. It's just hard to kind of balance the 2 of them. Whereas when you're focusing on one, you're able to give, I suppose, your full dedication to it. And as I said, like when you're with Limerick, obviously it requires 100% of your dedication and your time and your focus and everything. But then similarly enough, Patrickswell absolutely deserves the same. And I think it's definitely benefiting us that we're able to be training every night of the week, and like you're not playing 2 games and then disappearing for another 3 or 4 months. It is a club players to play challenge games and stuff if they're missing a few players. So no, I don't know, the club players might say it's a very long year training there for 6 or 7 months with no real competitive games. But at the minute anyway, being a county player and a club player, I personally love it anyway.
Yeah, personally, I think there's probably something to be bridged for the club players in terms of a real serious competition in the first part of the year. But how you make that up is another debate maybe for another day. But Aaron, thanks very much for your time. We wish you the best next Saturday evening. Hopefully it's a thrilling county final, and who knows, we may have the dreaded penalties after 80 plus minutes of hurling. But nevertheless, the best wishes to Patrickswell and the Pearshig in that one.